is this something that I'm okay with? When I concluded, yeah, I'm okay with helping raise kids that aren't biologically mine.
That's where the effort part comes in. Because on top of life, we now have to assess, why does this child seem off? Why is this one shedding so many tears over little things?
Dating as a single mom is like a big deal to a kid.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the podcast. And today I actually have my husband Caleb on here for the first time ever. So I have some questions for him and he has some questions for me. And you know what? We're just going to see where the Holy Spirit leads today. So let's go. I feel like you and I spend quite a bit of time talking about family life, our family, and family life the way we see, at least for us, how we see it in scripture and how we see God moving our family forward. And honestly, those are some of my favorite conversations with you. I think that there's something important about realizing the effort that we put into family life, the effort that we put into our kids is a big deal and that is important. And
Yeah.
you had said that statement a while back of like, the effort that we put into them is important. Do we have anything to say on that?
Yeah. So for a lot of my life, I grew up in a Christian home and loving family and stuff, but I never really knew how I felt about the concept or idea of parenting. I guess I never felt qualified. And I don't know, just there was a bunch of unknowns and I was kind of
Hmm.
independent, single on my own. And I didn't really know that many people that were spending much time focusing on family.
Right.
Uh,
Well, and then I think to add to that is you didn't have a lot of people in your life at the time that had a lot of kids that were
correct.
close to you,
Right.
right? So like you didn't really see that a lot. A lot of the people you were with were single and kind of in the same
Right.
life stage as you were then.
Yeah. And that has shifted really simultaneously with my life shifting that way too. And then I was listening to Jordan Peterson. He's been, I'd say, a big influence for me, talking about family and parenting and the importance of those challenges, how much that helps you to develop and enjoy life. As he describes it, like a third of your life is your family, a third of your life is your work. But I mean, family is a big part of it. And if you choose not to have a family, it's not to say that you can't have a good life, but like there's a lot that you are
Missing out, I
definitely
guess.
missing.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting. I don't know if I've heard that part.
yeah.
Like a third. That's a big part.
No, it's a huge part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had never heard anyone talk about parenting in the way that I heard Peterson talking about it. And he was talking,
Oh, sorry. No, I was just gonna say, how many years ago was this?
this was probably about 10 years ago,
Oh, wow. Okay.
8 to 10 years ago.
Okay.
And, one of his main messages is just we need to take on responsibility,
Mm,
especially as men, because it's what helps to define us and
right.
what helps to give us purpose in life. And I think family is a big portion of that.
Okay, so that was about 10 years ago that you heard this, and he kind of shifted your perspective on what you thought about family before up to that point,
Yeah.
right?
So, I mean, I'd been thinking that family, I would love to have a wife and kids someday, but I don't know, maybe when I'm 40,
Okay.
maybe kind of pushing it off all the time, or
Mm.
maybe just saying like, well, maybe it's not for me. And babies had always kind of freaked me out because I'd never spent much time around babies, and even kids. I see the potential and the importance and ability that kids have to influence the world and the future. But to be responsible for raising and helping them develop,
It's
like
a big deal.
that's a way bigger deal than I felt ready for. But yeah, in listening to Peterson, I was just really inspired. Like, man, as scary as it might seem, that's something that I want
Mm.
to experience in my life.
Wow. Okay. So that was 10 years. And then fast forward probably 5 years after that, around 5 years after that, you and I met. And
Yeah.
we met, this is a whole story. We could get into the story, but
Yeah.
we met online dating. I was living in Central America at the time. He was in California. And on my profile, I had mom with 4 kids. Because at the time I had 4 kids. How so I probably because of the shift you had
Mm.
from Jordan Peterson. I don't know, I feel like that's a big why would you take that on? Why would you say, "Yes, I will go on a first date with you," after reading that?
It's all the same reasons. I had to take a serious pause and consider, like, is this something that I'm willing to pursue? Because something that I feel like, I don't know if you've experienced this in the dating world, but I think men are very prone to is leading someone on and expressing interest when there really isn't any, usually for personal gain, whatever way possible.
Right.
And I never wanted to be that man. Like I've in my dating and experiences, I've wanted to be like, if I see a future in this,
Hmm.
if I see possibilities still,
Right.
then I want to be there for it. But if I don't, I want to
Be
call it
upfront.
quits. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I saw that on your profile and I was like,
It took you a while to reply to my message.
yeah. And in sitting with it and talking with God about it and a bunch of things, I was
Yeah.
thinking about how important is it to me, um, in pursuing family
Hmm.
that the kids are biologically mine?
Uh-huh.
Or how important is it to me, like, yeah, that I've been there since the beginning? And I was like, I had to really talk with God about it. Just
Yeah.
I was realizing that, yeah, I want family enough. I'm willing to pursue this and see what happens and
Hmm.
what God would have.
Wow. And pursued you have. So we've been married for 4 years
About 4 years,
in
yeah.
July. So July will be 4 years. Yeah, we've had some highs and some lows in those 4 years, like anyone who marries. I do feel like I feel like personally we've had more challenges. You just add more challenges in the type of family that we are building. Like the it's not a blended family, but in some ways, I mean, it's me with the four kids, you. So we merged all of that, and now we have Adeline. So we just had her in November. In some ways, I mean, we're blending all of these things together. And in the 4 years, like we've had our fair share of challenges. And you didn't step into raising babies, which I feel like in parenting, that's kind of the beauty of parenting is you know nothing, you get a baby who knows nothing, and you both grow up together.
Yeah.
You have not had that chance. You were thrown.
I'm doing this a little backwards.
You are. You were thrown into preteens. Okay, 4 years ago, Josh was 12. He's 16 yesterday. 16 yesterday. He was what, 12?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he's our oldest, and that's what you were thrown into. And we were coming into some big emotions, big things. And on top of that, we added a lot of big things like we got married,
Yeah.
we moved to a new place, like a lot of big things. So in those 4 years, we have had a lot to navigate and a lot to learn together. But I think that at the end of the day, we both come back to the idea that family is worth the effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I see that in you. And you say, like, you're very open with this, that you are learning parenting. You are, right, just like any new parent, like you're learning it, except for you're learning it almost in the deep end. You're learning how to swim in the deep end, I feel like.
Yeah.
But even in the learning, for you, family is worth the effort.
Yeah, I would like to add that, like, when we were first talking with each other, I had to really pause and consider, like, is this something that I'm okay with? When I concluded, like, yeah, I'm okay with helping raise kids that aren't biologically mine, then the next thing kind of to do is to figure out, like, okay, who are these people? And, actually start pursuing. In all of that, I got to really see your intentionality with the kids and some pretty amazing kids. And it was like, it became pretty clear pretty quickly that this is an opportunity that I'm not going to get again, something I want to jump at.
Well, we're glad you jumped in just all the way in the deep end. But for me, it has been very important to be intentional in parenting, intentional in family life for years. It hasn't, I feel like it's always been that way, but God really radically changed. And that's for another time. But God really radically changed, um, I guess, the path that I was on for family. In 2016, he started the process. So that was right around the time that I lost Ryan. And in the process of losing him, God started changing my perspective, my ideas of him, what he wanted for our family. And that was a really cool process.
Well, can I ask a little bit about you've mentioned this to me a couple times. I think that there's still a lot to dig into in that. When that shift started to happen
Mhm.
right around the time that Ryan passed, like, you, just tell me about that shift a little bit.
How long do we want to sit here for? Okay, we don't have long because we have to take Josh I mean, we have to go to Josh's baseball game. I think the word that I always come back to is grace. In the process of losing someone, you are nothing short of broken. You walk through some of the darkest, deepest valleys. God's grace kept showing up for me, and I am his child. And his grace kept showing up for me in those moments. And I think realizing that this Father who is holy and perfect can show up for a human who is broken and continue to give grace. I was really, what is the word? Yeah, I was challenged in the fact that I was not raising kids, showing them the grace that the Father shows me. And I'm not saying that I think there's a fine line. I think that it's very tricky to fall into all grace parenting and everything is grace and you messed up, oh grace, and you asked for forgiveness, grace, and you did this and grace. And there's never consequences and there's never, things set up that help you live the full life that Christ has called you to live. But in that, I think that I was just parenting out of these are the results we want. This is how you get it. A plus B is C, right? Like I was just going through the motions and I was really just whatever looked good, I guess, on the outside. And I was forgetting the grace on the inside and the grace, the heart, really the heart of family. And in that process, I think it was so cool that God took the time to take me on that journey of teaching me his heart for our family because every family is different and every family is going to look different and have different rules, have different things. But for our family, he walked me through a painful process and it wasn't just a lost process. So much came out of it. Like so much beauty that he taught me.
Okay. Something I was going to mention was going back to just kind of meeting you and the kids.
Which was a pretty awesome story anyway. We should
Yeah.
tell that one, but go ahead, do your question and then we'll give a little bit.
I saw your intentionality with the kids, and I'm not gonna make it out that, like, everything you were doing was
Yeah.
perfect or
Yeah.
but seeing your intentionality with them and helping them process through things, because dating as a single mom is, like,
Mhm.
a big deal to a kid.
Yeah.
I think that meant a lot to me because it's not just, like, you are lonely and want to be married and
Mhm.
just are gonna slap all these people together and hope it sticks.
Right.
You were really thinking deeply about the situation,
Yeah.
about the cause and effect, all of that. And
Yeah.
so I think that was a really big factor for me, feeling like, hey, this woman's really, really serious about trying to figure out something that works.
Yeah.
And not just with me, but with her kids. Even if even if I never came into your lives, you were trying to figure out what works with you and the kids. And like that's a big deal. That's that takes effort and
Yeah.
pursuit and intentionality. The courage that that gave me.
To jump in.
Yeah, because I I saw someone that was doing the hard work of trying to figure out how to make something work and
Yeah.
not just selfishly pursuing
Yeah.
a mate or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Because at that time, I feel like I've said this before. I was I was okay to get remarried. But I was okay not to get remarried. Like whatever God had, I didn't know. I was pursuing on and off for those 7 years. I was pursuing on and off dating.
Mm.
Um and there were seasons of okay, we'll try it again and then yeah, no, it's fine. I wasn't actively like constantly dating and like always introducing the kids to guys. I mean, you were the second guy that I introduced the kids to in those 7 years. So I was very intentional because family life to me, and I think that it's God's heart is such a big deal. And I think something I realized is we often get so busy in our lives, and I can do this easily, is we often get so busy in our lives pursuing the things that we, sports, work, school, grocery shopping, laundry, and name it, like throw it out there, fixing the car. It's a lot of things. And we forget that we have to stop long enough to look inward and see what's happening in the hearts of our family. And I think that that's a big deal. That's where the effort part, where we were saying at the beginning, that's where the effort part comes in. Because on top of life, on top of doing everything that we have to do, we now have to assess, why does this child seem off? Why is this one shedding so many tears over little things? Why is this one pushing buttons? And we can go down the list. But if we are so busy with life and forget to look inward, this is where family just gets put on autopilot. And then we get to our kids moving out of the home and life doesn't look like the way we thought it would look. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You're realizing that you never took the reins of the direction of the family.
Yeah. Yeah. You were just busy with life. And I think that for me, in those years of walking through grief, were pivotal years for me in realizing that of watching my kids walk through grief. I can step in with them or I can tell them how to walk it and then hope that they get there. Or I could step into the mess with them and
Yeah.
walk it with them.
I see your heart in that and your continuous pursuit of each kid and through the challenges that they're actively going through. And even for me, like, um I'm not pretending that I'm easy to love all the time. I think that you have a lot to offer, a lot to share, and a lot of wisdom.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and drawing those things out of me because you've been telling me this for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I am qualified to talk about parenting. Like we still have several years left of the kids in the home. So we still have a lot to figure out. And I think even after that, after they move out, you don't stop being a parent.
Yeah.
You change with them when they move out and you become a different kind of parent. And then, so we have a lot to learn. All right, going back to what you said earlier about you saw my intentionality with the kids when we were dating. Can you think of any specific moments?
I feel like it was kind of all throughout it. I remember you talking with me a little bit about just our first like video call with the kids.
And at that point, you and I had been talking for several months before I even told the kids, right? Brought them in.
Right. And I mean, I don't remember all of the details, but you were kind of explaining to me some of the processing that you were doing with the kids through that.
Mm.
And just kind of how you even how you introduced me to them as far as before the video call. I think I think all of that just shows an incredible amount of like I'm not I'm not just introducing people.
Right.
I want to know where their heart is and things.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a big deal because each child is different. I think as parents, we all know this. Each child is different. And I sat with it for a long time, but really sat with it for a few weeks of just, Lord, I need the words to say to each child. So I didn't do it collectively. I did one-on-ones. And that's a lot of work.
Mm.
So if you think about doing a one-on-one, that's a conversation, a big conversation that could take 45 minutes, an hour with each child. That's 4 of those conversations of repeating the same things, of figuring out how to say it in a way that gets to their heart specifically. It would have been easier to sit them all down, just lay it out and tell them, and then move on and have them be like, okay, this is what I want. You have to accept this because this mom, I mean, I thought you're really cute. Honestly, I really wanted this to work, but I wanted to be aware of their heart because they were a part of the process. And so having those conversations took a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of exhaustion for me because I was a single mom. I was working in ministry at the time. I mean, a full life homeschooling them, full life. I mean, not that it isn't now. We've added another one. It's still a full life. But I was a single mom. The easy route can just be collective conversation. And that's okay. We've done many of those. I've done many of those. But in this specific moment, it was so big that, yeah, it felt like a one-on-one was where it needed to be.
Do you remember that some of the struggles that each of them were dealing with, or was there one that
Yeah. And they were all different. Like one that really doesn't like change. He struggles with change a lot. And I knew this going in. And I talk a lot about this, about parents knowing your children's hearts. Now, there are things that escape me. There are things that I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that, that was how you were processing this. But for the most part, I feel like I study and overstudy our children sometimes to the point where I wish I could just turn my brain off. Going into this, I knew that he doesn't like change. And so in the conversation, again, this was me sitting there in the moment of, Lord, give me the words, and Holy Spirit, direct this conversation with all 4. But he did. And he gives you the words. He gave me the words in that moment of how to lay it out so that it wasn't just like this train gonna run him over. And it's like he didn't feel that way. And I think that that's a gift from God. I don't feel like we have this, do this in this situation in parenting. Next, do this, say this. We don't have that. Like,
Yeah.
guide, like that kind of a guide. We have a guide, but it's not so specific. But we do have the Holy Spirit, and that's God's gift to us as parents. We have the Holy Spirit and His Word. And both of those together, those tools together, are wonderful in helping our kids walk through life and helping them become adults and helping them become followers of Christ.
Well, and I've heard you mention several times with the kids that like, hey, I've never raised a Joshua at this age
Yeah.
ever before. And I really appreciate the heart behind that because it's asking for grace from them. And it's also kind of an acknowledgement that I need to give you grace because
Right.
like it's both in a new situation. And it also kind of conveys that like just because you're a parent doesn't mean you have it all together
Yeah.
or you have it all figured out. And it's possible for parents to be wrong.
Well, I think, like, I'll tell them, right? Like what you said, I've never parented a you at this age because even if I've parented a 14-year-old before, the next one is not going to be the same because they have a totally different personality, totally different,
Right.
likes and wants, all these things. So it's totally different. So I've never parented a you at this age at the same time as you've never been a you at this age. And like you're saying, like, I will give you the grace that is needed for this time and the guidance and everything else. And I ask for grace in return. And yeah, that has been I think, a big tool for me in with the kids. And even in the dating situation of I would look at them and be like, I've never dated a man while having 4 kids, like at the ages that you are right now. Like it's all new to me. And so, if I did get things wrong, if didn't do it to the way that you needed it done, there was always that grace of we're all trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the coolest things that I've encountered in joining this family is just the openness and kind of awareness that like we're on the same team. We're
Mhm.
trying.
Like I don't remember where I saw this. Someone was talking about it, about doing that with their teens, specifically their teens, and how much it means to them to just hear a parent say, I'm on your team. Because teen years,
Yeah.
they're pretty hard.
Emotions and hormones.
Yes. Figuring out who you are, figuring out life and everything else. Um, but yeah, the I'm on your team, I think is a big one for us.
So going back to what I was saying about Jordan Peterson, I mean, family is a big part of our lives.
Mm.
It's a third of our life.
Right.
I mean, it's probably arguably a bigger part of our lives
Right.
than work and other things.
Probably
Because,
more than a third, I would say sometimes.
I mean, I think Jordan Peterson is often talking to the men in the crowd, and for a lot of men, their home
I see.
life is closer to a third than for women
Right.
and the rest of it. But anyway, with that said, like how much do you want to invest into that third of your life?
Hmm.
Like the more we invest, the more we get back.
Right. Right.
And I think I know I've talked with many men that when they're done with their job, like they're trying to figure out something else to do to avoid going home. And I think that is really telling of like what family life is. So that's something that I think that gets me excited in these conversations is I want to see people having families that they're excited to go home to. And I think that when that happens, other people are excited to want to get in on that and
Right.
want to you see this generation, younger generations that are like, well, I don't know if I ever want to have a family. And I feel like that was kind of me too,
Hmm.
not really seeing the beauty in the family.
Yeah, I don't have the conversations with the men like you do. So I don't really know the insight from a lot of people, I guess, of sometimes not wanting to go home. And I don't think that's always the case. I feel like there's a lot of cases that aren't that.
Yeah.
But something I've learned from my sister, and she's really good at this, and something that I've tried to do now with you, now that you come home from work, is I usually know about the time when you're gonna step through that door and pull up the driveway and come home, is making sure the home atmosphere is one that you would want to walk into. because the day can be sometimes out of hand. The day can be loud and messy. The day can be crazy. And something that I do try to do is, well, first of all, okay, and this goes back to knowing the hearts, like knowing where people are at. Because you and I can have throughout the day, like texting conversations or whatever, of like, today's been a hard day. And if I know that, the kids don't know that. I know that. And I can prepare them that when you come home, you might need 5 minutes to walk through the door before anybody gives you a hug. And they're so excited to see you. They're all going to want to jump on you because they love to jump on your back and give you a hug and jump off of the chair in the kitchen and just like bear hug you, right? And I think that is so sweet.
Mhm.
And a lot of the times I'll allow that because that's how they show you that they're so excited that you came home. But then there's some instances of, okay, I feel like what we need is to bring it all down and just maybe put on some calm music or go outside and play for a little bit. Like I'm very strategic at, I guess specifically whenever you're coming home from work. And I feel like that plays into that again takes effort. It would be
Yeah.
so much easier. It would be so much easier to just focus on dinner.
I think most guys would relate to this. I don't know why God made us this way, but to transition
Oh yeah.
from the work space and work mindset
Mm-hmm.
to now I'm home and now I can be with and enjoy the kids. It's not this like switch.
Mhm.
It
I have heard that
you
before.
you kind of need to like get home, put your things down, whatever it is, like get a little bit of just like, okay, I'm home now.
Mm.
And then you're a lot more able to be present with the people there. I think that your intentionality in that is pretty incredible foresight that really does help me to show up better for the kids. And I think it helps me to also, I guess, kind of accept their
Love and affection.
their love and affection better.
Because it's a lot. They love you so much. And I love that. But yeah, that's great. But yeah, I mean, it all goes back to the idea at the beginning that we've said of family life is worth the effort. And there are days that this is just honest, like I am exhausted of everyone needing something from me. And for me, I feel like sometimes I get in this mindset of it's easy. It's easy to just like kind of block it out. And you know what? I'm not going to deal with this problem. I'm not going to deal with this hard issue. I'm tired of repeating the same things. I'm tired of showing up, and I might just let it slide for the day. First of all, my inconsistency. Like, let's not talk about that. But it might seem like the easy route for that moment, but it is way harder after that because it's like building blocks. We're just building on top of each other. And so we've set up a block here of what my inconsistency allowed, and then another block on top. And that keeps growing and it's harder to,
Remedy it.
yeah. And so I don't know. I just have to remind myself that on those really hard days, which is not my strength that goes, it's the Lord's strength that carries me through those. But sometimes I forget, and sometimes I am really tired. But to remember that family is worth the effort that we put into it and the rewards that we get from that. Yeah.
And I guess another thing that I might add to that is like, again, no family is going to be identical to ours. You know, you might be a single mom, or you might be
A single dad,
a single dad, yeah, or
a
um,
blended family.
I mean, all kinds of things. There could be some major problems going on, and it might seem hard to relate to a mom that can be home all the time and is homeschooling the kids.
Mm.
I don't think that anything changes that truth. That like the work we put into it, we're gonna get that back.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good point because I remember just from experience, like that's all I've got to go on. But when I was a single mom and I was working like all the time and homeschooling all the time, come 5 o'clock after I'd made dinner and we'd eaten, I was exhausted. Like I could not keep my eyes open. And the kids were all little. We still had bath times, bedtimes. They all wanted me to read. They all wanted me to play a game. There was still things to do before their bedtime. And I knew that I couldn't make it to 8 o'clock when they would go to bed. And so what I started doing was I would lay down on the couch. They would play a game and I would let them know, I need you guys to play something kind of quiet. And they would, or go outside and play on the porch. And I would take a 20-minute nap. And that nap was enough to get me through bedtimes and the rest of the evening. So while it might look different, because right now I don't have to take naps. I just go to bed earlier because I can, because you're up with them a lot of times. It looks different, right? The way we show
Yeah.
up looks different. And sometimes it's harder than others, and depending on what situation you are in life.
Yeah.
And even in some situations where you cannot fully show up, where you can't, I feel like there's even grace in that. Because I know for me, as a single mom, there was a lot of gaps for me. And I would always say, God will cover those gaps. And now in parenting with you, there's a lot of gaps. I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of gaps for us in parenting. And God's got those gaps. He's faithful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 4 years into this, and I'm still very much a newbie, and I'm
Yeah.
making mistakes all the time.
But God's got those gaps.
Yeah. Do you want to talk quickly about how I met the kids and the first time we saw each other in Guatemala?
Yeah, let's end it on that then. It's a good
Okay.
story, and we have to keep it short. We have to have a baby to feed.
I mean, we'd been dating, talking online. I'd done several video calls with you, and 1 or 2 video calls with the kids at that point.
And you and I had met in person.
Yes,
We'd already
we
met in
had.
person.
She flew up to LA, and I drove over to LA and at the beach.
Yep.
That was our first date. So, uh, you having 4 kids and me being a single guy, it's a lot easier for
Easier.
me to travel than you.
Yes.
And so I booked a plane ticket to Guatemala.
Yep.
And I remember very much on the flight down there thinking, like, am I crazy?
Probably. Yes. You
At
speak no
this
Spanish,
Yeah, I speak no Spanish.
and you're going to a country that speaks no English. Like the
Very much.
airports are not set up for English speaking. The shuttles are not like the hotels.
Country I've never been to before. We'd had lots of conversations, but I'd only actually met you in
What?
person for about 5 hours or so.
Yep.
The next morning, we met down at their
For
little
breakfast.
cafe or cafeteria
Yeah.
in the hotel.
The kids were all giddy. They were
Yeah.
excited, which was an answered prayer. And then we spent the next few days at a lake, like it's one of the most beautiful lakes in the world. I don't know if you know that. Lake Atitlan is one of the most beautiful lakes in the world. It's surrounded by volcanoes, like magical, amazing. And we spent the next 2 days, 2 or 3 days. Anyway, 2 or 3 days, and we just enjoyed each other's company. We went kayaking. The kids had never been kayaking. That was an experience because but we kayaked, I don't know how many hours, to get to the restaurant.
I really don't know. I think it was like
An hour or so.
hour or 2.
Okay, so we kayaked from like one shore to a restaurant that is literally on the cliff, the
Yeah.
face of a rock. So like there's no other way to get there by boat or kayak or swim, and you wouldn't swim. And we go eat lunch there, and the views are amazing. It's just phenomenal.
Is on this steep hillside and like terraced seating, just
Amazing.
beautiful, all overlooking the lake with all the volcanoes in the background. And then because it's Guatemala, the price of the meal, I think it was like $30 for all of us.
For all of us, and we
And it
ate
was
like good.
delicious.
But yeah, and then like we just enjoyed each other that weekend. Now, the kids had a blast, but I think for you and me the whole weekend it was, some pretty big conversations of,
Yeah.
do we want this? Do we want this to move forward? What would this look like? Are we willing to step into the hard? Because it is hard to go from, for me, running my family and being the, mom, and that's it.
Mhm.
And then like, okay, we're gonna add someone else, and like, that's hard. And we can totally talk about this some other time. That'd be a
Yeah.
good conversation. And then hard for you,
A hard?
stepping into this.
Yeah. Well, and I remember specifically on that trip, sitting kind of at the pool at the hotel.
For dinner that night.
I don't think it was for dinner. It was after dinner. It was like we were
Yeah.
watching over the kids kind
Yeah,
of
play in the green.
And I felt like there was kind of something that God was just sharing. Like
Mm.
this is a family that like is pursuing God in a way that I just really admired and appreciated. And this is an opportunity that
Wow.
almost nobody gets. That was a really like, I don't know, what's the word?
Pivotal or
Um,
turning?
I
Clarity? I don't know.
maybe all of it. Yeah. I was just really struck with the seriousness, or not the seriousness. It was the genuine opportunity
Hmm.
that I saw.
Wow.
Like, man, yeah, I'm all in now.
Yeah.
And like you have to be pretty all in, or what's the word?
All in or nothing. I don't know.
Confident to board a plane to a country you've never been to and doesn't speak English. But I remember just being really impacted at that.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. And yeah, it was. You shared, right? I feel like that was the point where your heart kind of turned like, okay, I think I want to pursue this. Now, over the next several months, even after we moved stateside, because we moved to California to see if, if all of this could work, if this is what we wanted to pursue. I feel like even then there were times when you were like, well, I don't know, like, and rightly so. Yeah, I think that's even great that you were like, I don't know, God, like, is this, can I, am I, do I? But yeah, even up till the day we said I do. But anyway, we are so glad that you said yes and that we said yes. I mean, even the kids now, they'll say all the time, they're like, oh, I'm so glad that we met Dad. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Very special.
Be amazing to have just a family like this. Well, and to just experience all of the growth and stuff that God has for a man that becomes a father, because like it's a big deal. I don't care if you're 50-year-old single guy, if you're a 20-year-old parent, you've learned some things that you probably couldn't have learned any other way.
Well, right, they say parenting is the most sanctifying process.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you've mentioned that several times.
yeah, and it is like
Yeah.
just the things. I mean, the kids and I were having our morning devotional, and the things that I was like, oh Lord, like I still have so much growth to do. And the kid, I said something. We were talking about the fruits of the spirit again. And I said something about, I can't just pick one right now. Like, I feel like I have so many to work on. And one of them piped up and said, that's okay, Mom. Like, we all do. Just pick one or two. And just the grace that was in that, I was like, thank you. But also, like, there's so much in my parenting journey that I'm just like, I still have so much to learn. But it is the most sanctifying. God uses parenting to sanctify us. And that's really cool. Anyway, I think that's all we have for today. We do have to go. We have a baseball game to get to. So we're going to call it. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time. Bye.